Sorry, I was busy counting how many people were in the room to brag about it later. I'm just going to introduce you next to Jonathan Curtis, who he works with our SFL Group, who are one of our the only AV partner at the Hall, and they're doing some fantastic things around wellbeing, but in a slightly different way. So, Jono, over to you.
That's me.
That's you. It's not there yet.
Well, hey. Hello, everybody. It really is bright up here. It really is bright. Forgive me, I'm a bit croaky today. You know how it is. You kind of have these big things, and you wake up with a sore throat, and the kids trouble you in the night time. So bear with me. As Laura said, my name is Jonathan. And I have the privilege of working with SFL Group. SFL Group are the only AV provider here at the Hall and have recently installed the new D&B audio sound system in the main arena as well. So, thank you. Thank you very much. I have 10 minutes, and there's really three things that I want to share with you this morning, and that is the why, the how, and the what. And what is SFL doing? Well, my background is in education, and I'm passionate around encouraging people, listening to people, and nudging people. My children would say that's nagging them. And this morning, my 12-year-old wouldn't even say hello. You know, I said, have a nice day at school, good morning. But I'm really passionate about entering into dialogue with people. And for the SFL Group, we were noticing that as the company grew, as the company became larger, we were a little bit concerned about the well-being and touching base with all the employees. So why bother, as the youth would say? Why bother? Why bother about well-being? Well, as the SFL Group company grew and expanded, it started off with 2 or 3 people, 2 or 3 directors that formed the company. And after they'd done events and gigs, you would travel back in the van, you'd debrief, you'd natter, you'd find out about kids, and you'd find out about life. And there were loads of touch points like that. But as the company grew bigger, those moments of touch points disappeared, because as the company grew, the monster grew. The policies were needed, the financials were needed, the legal things were needed. So as the company got bigger and expanded, the directors were a little bit concerned that the production engineers, the engineers that are on the front line of delivering events, were just being lost a little bit. So there was a rationale, a reason, a need to bring somebody in that could chat with people, that could also share the culture. So the culture was really important at SFL. How we do things, what they do was really, really important. And because some of these touch points weren't there, because there were more and more meetings, because the business was growing, some people were getting a little bit left behind. And interpersonal relationships are really, really important for SFL. So that's why SFL looked at doing something. Now then, what they did, how they did that, was a little bit unconventional. First of all, they thought about within their team, who is it that we know who has some soft skills that can engage and chat with people? We don't want somebody who's technical, because we don't want the person to get sucked into, oh, that's a Digico sound desk. Wow, look, you know, there's 5,000 million lumens on this projector and so on and so forth. So although that had some problems, and I'll come back to that in a minute, they needed somebody who had some soft skills, somebody who had more of a pastor's heart, somebody who would listen, somebody who had coaching and mentoring experience, somebody that would listen to stuff that people shared about the workplace, but also stuff that's going on at home as well, when they felt that they could. So we started off by appointing myself 2 days a week. So I'm an independent well-being and work coach consultant. So I came on board for a trial period, and my main focus was to be a champion for the production engineers. My main focus was to work with the production engineers who are out on the road, who are working on the social hours, who are eating irregularly, who find it hard to maintain relationships and some friendships because of the hours that they work. But we noticed quite quickly that other parts of the teams, other parts of the company wanted the same. The installations team, the scenic team. So the work that I was doing, the one-to-ones, the coaching and mentoring, was being rolled out across the company. As part of that, I'm very much a believer in identifying the gold in each person. And to do that, we use a tool called Strengths Finders. And some of you may have come across that. And that's like a psychological assessment. It sounds quite fancy and complicated and scary, but it's not. You answer some questions online, and it gives you a report of what the strengths are. And we use that as a basis for the one-to-one conversations. So that's the why, and that's how we've done it a little bit. And now what has actually happened. So there's been some ups and downs, more ups than downs, and I do need to read some of these out because I can't remember these. This is some of the feedback from some of the engineering team. So this is the feedback from the coaching and mentoring, the intentional making time for people, usually involving food, cake, Costa, etc., etc. So it's been helpful. So this is from the actual engineers. Explaining my future ideas and getting opinions on those ideas. Having a person to allow myself to get stuff off my shoulders. Getting free food. Free cake is the next one, only kidding. Was good to have a chat out of the office. And I think that's quite significant, actually, of being out of the office, being able to just breathe and take stock. A good ear to listen to and to pass on concerns to management. Help to understand how to communicate with others better and grow my skills. Being listened to. Insightful questioning leading to prioritizing my feelings and issues. Any of you who have known, who have worked with a coach or had a coach will know that questioning and listening are essential. Other things, other feedback like understanding issues, brainstorming, listening and talking, able to share things in confidence. It was more than just work-related. And a different perspective on thoughts, issues I have had. Being able to raise issues, assessing myself and thinking about my strengths and how I can start to improve. There's also been some feedback from the management team as well. Reduced meeting time. So you might think that's countercultural to well-being. But what some of the managers have fed back is when somebody brings an issue, it's often quite raw. And they haven't processed it. They haven't thought around it. And what I found that my role has been able to do is to shape that. So, unfortunately, because the management team have less time and less capacity now to meet with their team, when they do, it's really important. So if the stuff has been formed and considered and shaped beforehand, it makes that meeting time way more effective. The management team have also shared how it's easier to share tough news. It's easier to have that critical conversation because, as one of them said, they know there's somebody there to mop it up afterwards. But all seriousness, there's somebody there who can just make a call. Do you want to catch up? Let's unpack that a bit further. Let's try and look at both sides of the equation here. And it's been helpful having an independent perspective as well. A couple of the challenges. So me coming in as somebody who is not tech, who is not industry related at all. My background is in education and faith-based organizations. It was quite hard initially to engage with a gung-ho, highly competitive bunch of guys who love the getting in, and they love the setting stuff up, and they love to get out. and then move on to the next one. I didn't have a lot in common with them. So took a lot of intentionality, hence the food. So having lunch and sitting down together is really important. Another thing that's created a little bit of tension is that now the engineering team, the installation team, and the scenic team, all these different sub-teams, they now have an advocate, they now have a champion that actually fights on their behalf. So the management team have had to listen to a number of concerns and initiatives that have been brought up. Not everything is brought up back up through. I am a filter, so I filter a lot of the noise and bring that back up to the management team. So in terms of well-being, I want to just pop back to the how for a moment. The SFL Group have brought in a new management tool called TeamTrack. And it's a wonderful IT solution that helps them manage and deploy the team. And at the heart of that, they've put a number of well-being initiatives. So, for example, because the guys they don't earn overtime, but they like to do lots of work so they get paid lots of money. But because the work is so physical, they get broken. They don't think they get broken, but they do break. Okay, their bodies get tired, and mentally we identify that they need a break. So within this TeamTrack software, there are built-in rest days. We also have an initiative where they will work a certain number of hours. Now, we know that this industry is really tough, and they can work long hours. People do work long hours, certainly behind the scenes. So we've instigated a 9-hour break rule in between shifts. Now, sometimes that goes wrong, but we have a policy and a procedure in place and a reporting framework, so if it does go wrong, we can make some changes. We've also done a couple of other things that I think are really quite remarkable by the SFL Group. The SFL Group want to support the well-being of their team. And sometimes, through the one-to-ones I'm having with them, through the coaching and the mentoring, I can't offer the specialist help that they actually need. So we signpost them to maybe a counsellor or a CBT specialist. SFL pay for that, but I make that referral and we signpost people. And the other thing that we've done to help with the well-being is, I mentioned about the guys getting broken. They're on the road. They love that adrenaline rush, but they're lifting heavy stuff around. And Craig, one of the directors who's come with me today of SFL, we were just talking on the way in, and I went along with the guys a couple of weeks ago, and Craig said, I think you might have overdone it a bit, Jono, there. I was getting stuck in, and I felt bust at the end of those few days. So what we've done is we've established this MOT, because they're boys, and predominantly production engineers are all men that we have. They understand this principle of an MOT. So if they do get broken, we have a fast-track way of them seeing a soft tissue therapist, a physiotherapist quite quickly, and the SFL Group will fund 2 or 3 sessions for them there. So, just to conclude, the well-being of our team is at the center to how we function as a business. Thank you very much.